Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I hope that for the next 20 minutes or so, you give us your undivided attention, because the person on the other end of the screen, you're going to hear from someone who's not only brave enough to tackle some of the world's biggest challenges and prove, I guess, to all of us, especially us older people, that one person can truly have an impact in the world. In 2006, Maggie Doyne took a detour from college to explore Nepal, where millions of children not only are misplaced, and there are lots of issues that we can get into. It's a country, it's a region of the world that was caught in violence. There she met someone, 6-year-old, who changed her life and ignited what we all know now is about BlinkNow. So Maggie, as I shared with you off the record, I bow to the work that you have done, but thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
As you look back, it's coming up on a decade now since you first got there. When you pause for a moment and look at what you've accomplished, what do you say to yourself?
I say, wow, I would have never imagined in a million years that I could love so much and have a life so wonderfully rich and surrounded by love and goodness and change. And I'm also overwhelmed at the same time with all that there is still to do. I mostly feel really blessed for being able to do work every day that just fills me up and challenges me, and that I know is making the world just a teeny tiny little bit better.
Well, it's a lot better. But when you were 18, you had the foresight that a lot of 30 and 48-year-old people don't have, that you deliberately wanted to learn about yourself. You wanted to kind of find out, dig deep inside of you to find out what you're made of. You've learned a heck of a lot. What do you know about yourself a decade later?
Yeah, I know that, I guess for me, that moment being really young and looking into the eyes of another child, another human being, I think the realization for me in those moments and the series that led up to making those decisions was that we are all the same. We are one, and this is one human family. And I am no different than this little girl or that little boy, yet our lives and our realities are so different. And how can we be more connected? I think those were the first questions that I started to ask about myself, because I felt this connectedness for the first time in my life, and it was really powerful, and it was sad, and it was hard to see children living that way. But in my youth, in that age of 18, I knew I had to do something about it, and that I could do something about it, because I had that young naivete that that comes with 18 years of age. So from there, it was just starting to envision a better place, and starting with one kid, and then 5, and then 10, and doing this addicting job that I have.
And now almost 400. But you mentioned something. You did start with one person. And you talk about this connectedness. We're all one. So before that trip, you were a bright student. You were in a great part of the country. You were raised with a great family. What was different about the connectedness that you experienced then than it was when you met Hema? Was it, because you were connected to lots of people there anyway.
Right. I think my reality here, and you're right, I was that kid that had college on her forehead, and this is what you're doing, and these are the things that you have to do to get there. And for me, there was a lot of like shoulds, and you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to follow this line, and you have to do these things, because if you don't, then you're going to be a failure. Or there were all these kind of fears because of the culture that I grew up in. And I'll call it what is. I grew up in a little bit of a bubble. And for me, kind of learning about what else was out there in the world was an internal search that ended in seeing really true human suffering. And Yeah, it was Hema, and we were looking at each other at a dry river bed, and she was picking up garbage, and she just smiled at me, and I wanted to give her a piece of that life that I was given and a piece of the gifts that I was given, and I really felt like being a child of, you know, all the goodness that the world has to offer comes with the responsibility to give it back and to reach your hand out to a child or someone younger than you, and that I just felt like it had to happen.
Well, you started with one person, right? You started with Hema, and you started to gain confidence, and then you had three people, and then you built on that. Do you look back now and say, had your vision been greater in the beginning, maybe you wouldn't have gone as far as you can? Because when you started one person at a time, you started to see very rapid results.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head with that one. I think the problem that we make in foreign aid and development is that we go in with these big grand schemes of bringing in this, and we're going to pump in $1 million into the economy, and these big picture macro plans to make things better. And what I've learned through my experience is that it actually has to start from the bottom, and you have to really spread your roots in a more connected, organic, flowy sort of way. And right, like, because I was 18 and, spending my life savings, I valued every $5. Like, I wanted everything to go the right way, and it sort of grew very slowly and very organically. And I think that's a huge part of our success, is that it was just kind of problem solving as things came along. And first it was a school, and then a home, and then a clinic, and then a women's center, and each system kind of supported and depended on the other. But I didn't go in with a plan of, like, we're going to do this, 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 and this. It wasn't like that at all. It was more of a picture of childhood and what I wanted to offer to the children there.
Well, describe BlinkNow to those who don't know what BlinkNow is, and then I want to talk a little bit about what the future holds for it.
Sure. BlinkNow.org is our foundation, and I named it when I was 18, and the concept really came from change the world in the blink of an eye, and that it really can be that quick and sort of that fast, and that we all have the power to change the world. And Blink Now directly supports the work of Coppola Valley and the children and the project there. And it's like I sort of started to explain, I'm the mother of 51. So it's a children's home, a school for 400 kids, a school lunch program, a clinic to keep the kids really healthy, and a women's center. So yeah, I mean, it's our little micro thing that we're doing in a remote area of the world, that hopefully the story and the mission and the big vision can be shared and kind of taken everywhere.
Well, taken everywhere and inspiring a lot of people. You say with just an unbelievable amount of purpose that these are your children, that you are a mom of 51. Why that terminology? How does that make you feel different, instead of, we have a school of 51, or of, I support 51 kids? Why I'm a mother of 51?
I think it started because it really did just start with 2 or 3 children, and it was the day-to-day of bathing and feeding and cutting toenails, and that was really the heart piece of where it came from. And it was never an intention of, like, I'm going to go in and become a mom, but it slowly evolved that way. So then when it became 10 kids, and then 15, and then 20, it just became mom. And now it does sound kind of ridiculous when you say 51. But I never want that part of the work to go away. I always, first and foremost, want to be the mother and the caregiver. And when I say our children, I really do think that the world's children who are suffering should be ours, and that they should be our children. I mean, if your biological child was on the side of a Himalayan mountain struggling to survive for food and warmth, you would go to the edges of the earth and do anything to get them and care for them and make sure that they were safe. And to me, it's no different. Like when I think about my 50 kids now, I would just do anything for them. And it makes me kind of nervous and scared to think about all the other untapped potential and children around the world just
That's a large family. We just met, number 51, but that's quite the family.
struggling and waiting to be cared for and loved. Yeah, yeah. And actually the family element is really what makes Coppola Valley and BlinkNow it's the kids are so well adjusted and thriving because they have a family. And that's the whole secret, is family and love and their basic, most human needs and rights. And there is no other trick to the success of our project. It's pretty simple when you think about it.
Maggie, I want to shift gears for a moment because you shared something with me that was very interesting before we started to record this. You were a stranger in a strange land, right? You were, a white person amongst a completely different group. And I don't say that with any prejudice. It's just the way that people look at it over there. How did you start to gain acceptance? And how did you start to build the relationships of the people who now support you?
Well, I think I genuinely, really, truly depended on them and respected them in a way that I wanted to hear what their thoughts were, what they thought would make the community better, what the needs were in the village and in the region. And I knew from the very early beginning that the key factor in the project's success was that the Nepali people there needed to take ownership over it. They needed to feel like it was theirs, like it was our idea, that we were doing it together, building it together, creating together. And I mean, I'm the one that gets to sit here and talk about it and be the face and the voice, but if you were in Nepal right now, you would see a devoted team of parents. We all co-parent, caregivers, teachers, educators, counselors, medical workers, and they are part of that family, and they would say, this is ours, this is us, working together. And it's very rare, and I feel very lucky that it was sort of created that way. And I think that was, again, part of one of the positives of being 18, was that I was willing to know that I didn't have all of the answers. I read everything I could, I studied other models, but at the end of the day, I just had the community I was working with. And so it's ours. We did it together. And I have a Nepali board. We have a Nepali village elder committee. The government supports us and has embraced us. Like I said before, I get coffee with our chief of police once a week, and we work through these issues and the problems together.
Well, that you may have a little, you mentioned maybe the experience, you may have a naive background and experience, but that's unbelievable wisdom when a leader empowers others to do what collectively can only be done as a group. That's a pretty powerful leadership message. So, kudos to you. Can I shift for a moment on the raising money aspect of it? You can't do this alone, right? And the $5,000 that you had can only go so far. Lots of social entrepreneurs, especially in your generation today, face this challenge. They've got these amazing dreams, but it's very difficult to get people to rally around them. It's very difficult to have the capital to start to do what you do. What have you learned about that?
Yeah, it's really hard. And I mean, every time I take on a child, it's something that I think about. It's like another child's born, and you need to plan for it and budget for it, and you want the best for them. And I guess what's worked for me is making those 8,000 miles in distance, because that's exactly how far away we are, making it seem smaller and more real, and really telling people, like, you donate 25 cents and that's feeding a child. Literally, look at them on Instagram. They're eating that rice and those rice and beans and on those veggies that we grew in our garden. And I think making it real helps, because it is so hard for someone to give in a really trusting way and knowing that it's making an impact. So I try to make that more real for people with my voice and just photographs. And I think the power of social media and the internet, if we can use that and harness it for good, I think the future is in crowdfunding. And, I'll just give you one example. We really needed a school bus because our furthest kid was walking 3 hours to get to and from school every day. That's not sustainable. That child is at risk. So we had a kid in Texas who heard our story on Twitter. He saw on our wish list that we wanted a school bus. I had thrown school bus on there thinking, maybe a million years from now, it's just a big dream and a big wish. And he, for his 25th birthday, he was turning 25 on December 25th, and he crowdfunded $25,000 in the span of 3 months and bought us a school bus. And not only that, he surpassed his goal. I think he hit $46,000 and had a fund for gas and a bus driver. So I think, just like sharing the stories and human connectedness, there it is, like people believing and pitching in and using the internet for good and saying, I can give $25 or $50 or $10. And I think it's really cool when you watch all of these crowdfunding stories out there and things kind of becoming really real for small projects like mine and like some of my friends.
Well, yours is a big project because I know you're in the first inning of a game that's going to go on forever and ever. Certainly, I don't ever see you walking away from this. As you start to really scale and multiply and have 5, 10, 15, 20 schools, will you change your approach at all about raising capital? Because now the numbers get much larger.
I really want my scale to be in other people like me leading through my example. I want Coppola Valley and our project and BlinkNow to be a learning center. I want to share what we've learned, what's worked for us, the mistakes that we've made, our best practices, and I want other people to say, you know what, I can do that. And it might not be 8,000 miles away, it might be here, it might be there, it might be here, but I can do something. And I really want my approach to be that and my message to be that, because personally, I've gone through this and I do want to be a mom, and if I could build 20 schools, that would be great. But right now I'm just trying to take care of my 5-year-olds and my baby. And my message to everybody is just, can you join hands with me and take this on and do this? And there's nothing special about me, I promise.
There's a lot special. But what you just said here is a lesson, because you're a lot more focused on the next one, not the 20 that we were just talking about. And when you're focused on that next one, there's not a lot of unknowns as there are with the 20, so the ability to move faster is probably right in front of you.
Yeah. Well, for me, just to run one school and do it right and just really change the education model through our one prototype of a school and the challenges that our children face every single day. It's huge. So my focus really has been on our school, and hopefully through that, I'll give you a quick example. We were the first school in pretty much our country of Nepal to outlaw corporal punishment.
Wow.
And people thought that we were crazy. We had guardians coming in and asking us to hit the kids. Other schools were like, what are they doing? And now, 7 years into it, people are saying, oh my gosh, they're doing something different. And look, those kids aren't being hit. And look at how they're thriving and listening, and they respect the teachers without having a stick in the classroom. So, really simple things like that can change a system. And we're in that place right now of thinking, okay, let's do things to the best of our ability, create the best, strongest model for our kids that we can, and hope that will spread and seep into the culture and the region and the country and the world.
Coppola means flower bud. Is that a metaphor for what you're hoping happens with the kids there, and certainly now the moms with the Women's Center, that it's just they're going to blossom?
Totally. You got it. That name was chosen by the village that we settled in, and we believe that children are like flowers, and when you give them what you need, they do the rest. They'll bloom and become the next generation of leaders and teachers and really good moms and dads and entrepreneurs and problem solvers. So I can't wait. I really can't wait. My oldest is 16, so we have a little ways to go, but it's exciting.
My oldest. All right, just a few more questions for you. I want to know the impact your work has had on their parents, because I know there's a women's center now. How to the impact of one person like you to come from a foreign land to do what you've done for their kids, what has been the impact on moms and dads?
Great question. So we're predominantly an orphan care project, and within the school, well, I guess I should say within orphan care, you have the issue of a lot of caregivers. So a single mom without a husband, or an aunt who's caring for her niece, or a big sister who's raising her 5 younger siblings. You have them wanting to sort of drop their kids into an orphanage because it becomes too much, it's too overwhelming. And what we say within our school and our day program is, we'll take the burden off. Your child can go to school. They can, have a safe place to come where they get food and medical care. But we empower the caregiver to want to keep their child and care for them. And we do that through parenting courses and support, and the Women's Center, giving them economic opportunities and having them learn so that they can be a better parent. And when our guardians, say the grandmother, the auntie, the cousin, the uncle, whoever they are, when they're better, then our child's home life becomes better and they're supported within their family system. So that's the premise of the Women's Center. We also want to use our funds locally to really sustainably pump them back into the local economy. And obviously, if our children's families are more supported and taken care of, they'll be more supported throughout their education and their childhood.
Maggie, how are you evolving as a leader?
I am.
Don't be shy.
I think you have to be constantly willing to learn, always. Like, you just admit that you don't have it totally figured out. There's not a blueprint for this stuff. And what have I learned? Right now, my big lesson, and I've been coached and mentored on this, is to surround myself with people who, I guess, work to combat my weaknesses, because I started as we were just it was one person, and now slowly we've grown into a big team, and being able to take a little bit of the weight and the burden off my shoulders has been important.
All right, 2 more quick questions for you. What was it like to be on stage staring down at the likes of Warren Buffett's, Bill and Melinda Gates, and on and on and on, when you were awarded at Forbes? What did it do for you, especially when they stood up and acknowledged your accomplishments?
Well, it started out just being so nerve-wracking, and you feel like just overwhelmed that you're there talking to the people who you've watched and read about. But it was definitely validating, and I just felt so cheered on and supported in that moment. And I felt like people who are older kind of start to lose hope, and it was really good to be the one in that room saying, we can do this. Like, believe me, trust me, this is possible. And I always want that to be my message, that if we all really truly join hands and do this together, we can eradicate extreme poverty in our world and go down in history books as the generation who did it. And I think that's something to be excited about. And that's kind of what I told them there in that room, and they believed me. That was cool.
Well, I believe you too. And my last question to you is, talking to your generation, for those who have those great ideas we touched on just a moment ago, but for some reason haven't started, what message would you share with them? If you were in a room with 25 or 30 of them who were really yearning to do something special, but whether it's lack of confidence, lack of whatever you want to call it, what do you tell them?
I always say, start right now with what you have. I hear a lot of people saying, well, when I retire, or when I get that degree, or when I have that job and I have more free time. I hear a lot of people saying like, it'll get done when this happens. And I think if we're all just waiting for something, it's just, if I had waited until I had everything figured out, I wouldn't have started with that one small step. So I always say, just start right now, start with what you have, take the small steps, surround yourself with like-minded people who believe in you and want the same things, and go from there. And then that little baby step becomes a big leap, and then another big leap, and you start to slowly build something and learn from it. I think that's what I would say. I just try to be the cheerleader.
Well, you're a pretty darn good cheerleader. And if we all wanted to do something small to help you further your cause, one, how do we learn more about what you're doing? And number two, what can we all collectively listening to this do to help you advance your ideas?
Sure. Well, to follow our story, I'm a blogger and a avid social media user. So we're blinknow.org, BlinkNow on Facebook, Instagram, our website, and there's really great ways to get involved over there, anywhere from creating your own fundraiser to making a contribution, and sharing the story. And yeah, my message is always do something to change the world. Let's make this place better.
Well, you were awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was fun.